been after him for some time. General Kirillov was the first, even before the special military operation began, to point out the biolabs that we helped to fund and create in Ukraine. Ultimately, there were 46 of them, most of them located along Ukraine's border with Russia. And he urged the army to go immediately into these biolabs, gather whatever evidence they could, and then destroy them. So that's the first thing. At the same time, he was also instrumental in pointing the army in the direction of the Kharkov Institute, which was the one facility in Ukraine where there was serious work going on to develop nuclear weapons. Specifically, they were trying to create the equivalent of a suitcase nuclear weapon. The Russian authorities did get to the institute. They shut it down, but unfortunately, they don't know how much was rescued from destruction and whether or not the Ukrainians got something out of it. Both of those were very horrific events as far as the Russians are concerned, because they found tangible, concrete evidence that the Ukrainians in these biolabs, with our help and assistance, were trying to develop weapons that were targeted genetically against Russians. Now, how they did this is anybody's guess. I don't know. I mean, genetically, Russians and Ukrainians are not that far apart. There are differences, so that they could do something like that. But how far they got, I have no idea. In addition to which, there were other indications that organs were being harvested in these places from people as young as 6 months, 8 months, and sold on the black market or utilized for experimentation. There are a lot of horrific things that came out of that discovery, but it really shocked the Russians that we and the Ukrainians would do such a thing, and it made this special military operation all that much more important. And obviously, the Ukrainians were not happy about the fact that this information was discovered. So killing him right now isn't going to make much difference in terms of the inevitable victory of the Russian state in this war. But it's a way to punish someone who got to them, if you will.
Douglas Macgregor's remarks delve into the intricate and contentious issues surrounding Ukraine's biolabs and nuclear weapons research, framing these as central to Russia's motivations in its military campaign. According to Macgregor, General Kirillov was instrumental in identifying and addressing these alleged threats, actions that significantly shaped the trajectory of the ongoing conflict. Macgregor begins by highlighting the biolabs, claiming that there were 46 such facilities in Ukraine, most of them situated near the Russian border. These labs, according to him, were funded and developed with U.S. involvement, which raised immediate red flags in Moscow. General Kirillov, who had been monitoring these activities even before the Russian military operation began, urged the Russian army to act decisively. His directives were clear: gather evidence of any nefarious activities from these labs, and then dismantle them to prevent their future use. The alleged focus of these labs was deeply concerning to Russia, as they were reportedly working on weapons that could target Russians based on genetic markers. Macgregor acknowledges the technical complexities of such a program, noting the genetic similarities between Russians and Ukrainians, but he emphasizes that the Russians viewed this as a credible and serious threat. Another critical issue raised by Macgregor is the Kharkov Institute, which he describes as a nuclear research facility. This institute was allegedly engaged in developing suitcase-sized nuclear weapons, a concept that would have posed an extraordinary threat to Russia. Russian forces, under Kirillov's guidance, managed to shut down the facility. However, Macgregor notes that the Russians remain unsure about how much material or research may have been salvaged by Ukrainian actors before the facility was secured. This lingering uncertainty only amplifies Russia's concerns, as it leaves open the possibility of advanced nuclear capabilities being developed outside their control. Beyond the technical and strategic threats, Macgregor describes disturbing allegations of human rights abuses linked to these facilities. He claims that evidence was uncovered of organ harvesting and experimentation involving young children, some as young as 6 to 8 months old. These organs were allegedly sold on the black market or used for scientific experimentation. Such discoveries, if true, would not only constitute grave violations of human rights, but also add a moral dimension to Russia's military actions. For Moscow, these revelations justified their intervention, painting their actions as both a national security imperative and a humanitarian mission. Macgregor frames General Kirillov's assassination as a retaliatory move by Ukrainian forces. He suggests that this act was meant to punish Kirillov for his role in exposing these programs and undermining Ukrainian capabilities. However, Macgregor argues that Kirillov's death will not alter the course of the conflict. The evidence and actions initiated under his leadership have already laid the groundwork for Russia's continued military objectives. While Kirillov's role was pivotal in the early stages, his contributions have now become part of a larger, irreversible process. From Macgregor's perspective, these developments underscore a broader critique of Western involvement in the conflict. He questions the United States' role in supporting activities that Russia perceives as hostile and provocative, particularly in areas as sensitive as biological and nuclear research. Macgregor suggests that these actions have only deepened the divide between Russia and the West, creating a volatile situation that could escalate further. The revelations about these programs, whether fully substantiated or not, add another layer of complexity to the conflict, shaping perceptions and strategies on both sides. Macgregor also points out that the assassination of General Kirillov may have symbolic value for Ukraine, but it does little to change the reality on the ground. The conflict, according to him, is heading toward an inevitable Russian victory, with the special military operation bolstered by the evidence uncovered during its initial stages. The uncovering of these alleged programs has provided Moscow with a narrative that justifies their actions both domestically and internationally, framing their military intervention as a response to existential threats. In Macgregor's view, the broader implications of these revelations are profound. They not only highlight the stakes for Russia, but also raise questions about the conduct of all parties involved. The allegations of biolabs, nuclear research, and human rights abuses, if proven true, would have significant ramifications for international security and the ethical responsibilities of nations. For now, these claims remain a contentious and deeply divisive aspect of the conflict, shaping its narrative and influencing its trajectory. Whether these allegations will ultimately be substantiated or remain contested, they underline the complexities and high stakes of the ongoing war, leaving little room for complacency or oversimplification. According to Douglas Macgregor, the Ukrainians had been targeting General Kirillov for some time. Even before the special military operation began, he was the first to highlight the biolabs that we helped fund and create in Ukraine. There were ultimately 46 such facilities, most of them situated along Ukraine's border with Russia. Kirillov urged the Russian army to swiftly enter these biolabs, gather any available evidence, and then destroy them. At the same time, he played a pivotal role in directing the military toward the Kov Institute, Ukraine's key facility for nuclear weapons research. Specifically, the institute was working on developing suitcase-sized nuclear weapons. While Russian forces managed to shut down the facility, there remains uncertainty about how much material may have been salvaged and whether the Ukrainians managed to retain anything critical before its destruction. These discoveries were deeply alarming for the Russians. They found concrete evidence that Ukraine, with Western assistance, was using these biolabs to develop weapons genetically targeted against Russians. How this was being achieved remains unclear, given the genetic similarities between Russians and Ukrainians. Despite these challenges, the work was underway, though its progress remains unknown. Even more disturbing were reports indicating that organs were being harvested in some of these facilities, from individuals as young as 6 to 8 months old, either sold on the black market or used in experimentation. The revelations of these biolabs and their activities shocked the Russians, intensifying the importance of their military operation. It also raised serious questions about the actions and intentions of Ukraine and its Western allies. While General Kirillov's assassination may not change the course of the war or Russia's eventual victory, it serves as a form of retribution. He was a key figure who exposed these operations, and this may be Ukraine's way of punishing someone who posed a significant threat to their activities. Thanks for watching.